Hey Merfolk fans, I'm Joe. Thanks very much for joining me today. I'm here with a replay of round 3 of a modern competitive league. I'm currently sitting at 2-0. I beat the mirror match in the first round and blue-white control in the second round. But before I get this third round underway, I'd like to provide a link here to my Patreon page, which I recently created. If you guys feel like donating $1 or $2, I really appreciate it. I'm super grateful for any contributions to support me in making these videos. So yeah, there's the link. Click it please and have a look. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and have a look at this third round. I won the die roll. That's the third time in a row. So things going our way. This is a really beautiful hand, which in many circumstances I would probably keep if we were on the draw. But you need to develop mulligan discipline, and it's painful to watch hands like this go away. We have a turn 1 play, and even a Mutavault would turn on our card draw and turn 2s with a wide variety of spells. But if we don't draw a second land on time, we can just get totally steamrolled. So for me, it was an easy decision to mulligan. Fortunately, we hit a decent 6, so definitely going to choose to keep this. The opponent kept 7. Okay, so what do you do with this AEther Vial? We've got 3 lands already, right? So potentially we can just treat this AEther Vial as another land, in which case we might scry it away, but I definitely kept it on top. If we know that this is coming on turn 2, yes, we'd prefer to have AEther Vial on turn 1, but even on turn 2, if we don't draw into a blue source, we'll still be able to quickly get our double blue spells onto the board. So pretty easy decision for me leaving that AEther Vial up there. Let's open up with Island into Cursecatcher and pass the turn. So overall, I feel pretty decent about that mulligan decision. So Eldrazi Temple into Relic. So do you guys know, based on that opening, what we're playing against? I mean, you may have seen the title of the video, I guess, but Eldrazi Tron doesn't run Relic of Progenitus, at least not in the main deck. So this is almost certainly some kind of Eldrazi and taxes list where they want to exile our stuff in order to provide food for Wasteland Strangler. So Eldrazi and taxes. So there's that AEther Vial that I knew was on top. We'll go ahead, play it, and get it on board. We can attack for 1 with the Cursecatcher and pass back to the opponent. So they cycle their Relic right away. And pass turn without making a land drop. They have to discard to hand size already. So they discarded Lingering Souls, so not losing a ton of value there. That's actually a pretty decent discard. But I think you see what I mean about mulligan discipline. The opponent was on the draw, and they had a Relic to get them another card, but you see how terrible their situation is right now. I don't think they have as wide a variety of 2-drops that could be played conveniently if they top deck any random land, as we do. So almost certainly the opponent probably should have mulliganed their hand, but as it stood, we get to basically go off to the races as quickly as possible. Didn't draw a blue source. Going to go ahead and attack with the Cursecatcher. The opponent's tapped out, so sequencing isn't very important here. We'll follow up with Silvergill, reveal one of our lords, drew into a blue source, but we're going to play that Mutavault because since we're just pushing so hard right now, getting a Mutavault out on turn 3 means we can attack with 2 of them on turn 4 if we want to do that. So again, no land drop, but they'll pause and play out a Relic. Makes sense, right? So they don't have to discard to hand size. Potentially cycle that Relic and draw into a land. I'll tick AEther Vial up, play that Wanderwine Hub, cast a Lord, play a Lord, and just swing with one of the Mutavaults. This is a lot of damage. It's 11. The opponent's going down to 7, and there's really virtually nothing they can do against this, being stuck on 1 land. Pass to them, and I think they just scooped it up at this point. So yeah, that was game 1. Please look away if you don't want to see the match result. A pretty easy game 1 for us. I'm going to click out of this window now. Okay, so we are back now with the second game of round 2. Let's go ahead and have a look at my sideboarding decisions. So I as I mentioned, I knew that the opponent was on Eldrazi and taxes, so let's see. I took out the 4 Cursecatchers. They don't have a ton of value in this matchup. They don't have too many instants and sorceries that they're going to want to cast. I cut 1 Master of Waves because he's a little bit weak to Path to Exile and Dismember, which are likely pieces of removal that they might play. You can see that I brought in my 3 Ceremonious Rejections and my 2 Dismembers. So I took 5 cards out and brought in 3 Ceremonious Rejections and 2 Dismembers. So pretty solid sideboarding strategy against these guys. We wouldn't want to bring in Relics because they don't try to get value out of the graveyard, except maybe for the Lingering Souls. But I have Echoing Truth in the deck if they go nuts with Lingering Souls tokens. So the opponent's going to be on the play here. Looks like they kept 7 again. Now, this opening 7 brings up the discussion of Mulligan Discipline again. Being on the draw with an island and 2 Spreading Seas, this is a keep for me because we're going to have 2 draws to hit at any land in the deck. We have a Merfolk to turn on a Wanderwine Hub and start casting these Spreading Seas, turning off the opponent's mana and drawing us into more of what we need. 2 Dismembers is sensational against decks that play Thought-Knot Seers and Reality Smashers and Eldrazi Displacers. So opening up with Concealed Courtyard into Relic of Progenitus, I'll just play an island and pass. Shambling Vents tapped. Now I drew into a Silvergill Adept and just hit the Mutavault right on time. So you see how having access to those 2 draws being on the draw is huge in deciding whether or not to keep a 1-land opening hand. So let's slam that Mutavault. A lot of choices here. I guess I was pretty focused on the Spreading Seas plan. It can be really good against them because they are actually a 3-color deck between white, black, and the colorless requirements for Thought-Knot Seer, Reality Smasher. And yeah, so I'm going to play Spreading Seas on the man land that they just got down. And we drew another land, so things going well. Opponent plays Eldrazi Temple, which was scary because it could have meant a Thought-Knot Seer, which we hate, but instead he cycled his Relic off the bat. Inquisition, my hand is just too stocked. I don't really care what they take. Now, Kira was a great choice, I think, because so many of the spells in their deck want to destroy our creatures, and Kira is going to protect against that, so kudos to the opponent for choosing correctly. I'm going to go ahead and hit their other black and white source, putting them just on colorless mana. Another Silvergill, so we've got tons of card draw, things looking good. Play a land and leave up Dismember for their turn. So Ratchet Bomb was a bit of a bummer seeing that. I should have expected it out of the sideboard, honestly. It's going to be able to deal with the Spreading Seas, but not for another 2 turns. So Ratchet Bomb can be really slow against us. So there's an Island Walk Lord. All right, so what's the line this turn? If you guys want to think about it for a second, you can always pause the video, see what you would do in any given situation. For me, jamming the 2 Silvergills seems perfect because they're going to replace themselves with cards in my hand. Next turn, we could potentially activate both Mutavaults and just swing for 8, dealing the opponent a ton of damage and presenting a bunch of pressure. All of these 2-drops would get wiped off the board by Ratchet Bomb, but every single one of them replaced it in my hand. So not really losing any card value that way. So play Silvergill number 1. We drew another blue source. Not really optimal, but not terrible. We've got a lot of cards we want to play. Okay, so another land after that was pretty poor. Another option next turn, when the opponent doesn't have Ratchet Bomb online yet, would be to play out Lord of Atlantis, thus swing for a little bit more with Island Walk. Opponent, let's see, tapping a bunch of lands. I think we know what this is. Yep, it's a Thought-Knot Seer. We don't have any mana up to Dismember it in response to its trigger. But we have 2 Dismembers up anyway. He chose to take the Island Walk Lord, which is interesting. He does have a Ratchet Bomb up to protect him against 2-drops. Leaving me with 2 Dismembers. So super easy decision. We're going to get rid of this guy right away. Going down to 16 in the process, but we're not feeling very threatened so far in this game. We're going to get to draw our card back. So 4 consecutive lands is bumming me out, but can play one of those lands, activate the 2 Mutavaults, do exactly what I said last turn. Swing, try to take the opponent down to 12. This Ratchet Bomb is going to get to go off next turn, if the opponent so chooses. They do, freeing up their mana and wiping the board. To activate Shambling Vents, it doesn't look like they kept a really great hand. It's been really awkward so far. They had a Thought-Knot Seer, Inquisition, Ratchet Bomb, but otherwise it's been lands and Relic. So the opponent is putting a lot of stock in Relic and its ability to potentially draw him into gas. It looks like it's just been drawing him into lands, but it's been drawing me into lands as well. So I drew another Harbinger for the turn. So again, what do you guys do this turn? We've got 2 Mutavaults, so we can keep leaning on the opponent. But for me, I like playing out 1 Harbinger here. The opponent knows that I have 1 in hand from the Thought-Knot Seer. So if they try to go for, well, an Inquisition or something, and I wanted to get the Harbinger out of my hand to present even more pressure, I could go that way. So on the end step, look at the opponent just pass straight through. I don't know exactly why they didn't activate an attack with their Shambling Vent. I guess they know I have the Dismember, but I'm still going to have it on my turn too. So that is, I think, well, it's not a 5th consecutive land, but it's 5 out of 6. So for me, easy decision, activate both Mutavaults, present 8 points of damage. If the opponent, in fact, only has the Shambling Vents to do anything about this, we have the Dismember and can just destroy it before it even gets to block. All right, so it looks like that's what they had to go for. Still in my attack step, gonna get rid of the Shambling Vents. And so 8 of the damage that we've been dealt so far this game has come from our own Dismembers. The other 2 came from the 1 attack that the Shambling Vent successfully got off. So the opponent did get hit for 8 twice now. I think is that right? 8 and 8. Well, 16, and they gained 2 from the Shambling Vent, so putting them at 6 rather than 4. Okay, so here's a Wasteland Strangler. I do have something in exile because of the Thought-Knot Seer. So the opponent, when the Wasteland Strangler enters the battlefield, is gonna put my Lord from exile into my graveyard and kill one of my Harbingers. So that's pretty rough. Getting a creature and removing one of mine, so it's a 2-for-1. Now I'm up to 6 lands out of 7 draws, but I don't feel too bad in this spot. The Wasteland Strangler only has 2 toughness, so I can feel comfortable activating my Mutavaults and swinging with everybody. If the opponent blocks, they'll just trade, and he won't have any blockers next turn. I can just keep leaning on him. I'll have 2 attackers to only deal 2 damage. So let's see. Opponent's going for Tide Hollow here. And I guess seeing that I didn't have anything in hand, I guess realizing that they didn't have anything in hand, they were dead on board. Yeah, they chose to scoop it up there. It's possible that I might have chosen not to attack into this situation, depending on what I drew next turn, because if the opponent pathed like my Mutavault and then traded with Harbinger, that would have been pretty rough. But the opponent was down to 2 cards. We've got a 10-2 life advantage, and playing aggressive is definitely the correct approach there. All right, so a really quick round 3 against an Eldrazi and Taxes player who displayed pretty poor mulligan decisions, I think. Here's another link to the Patreon if you guys want to take a look and potentially donate $1 or $2 to help support me making these videos. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I definitely appreciate all of you subscribers. And tune in for the next video where I'll be going into the 4th round of this Modern Competitive League. We're 3-0 right now, having beaten the Mirror Match, Blue-White Control, and Eldrazi and Taxes. So yeah, tune into the next video and I'll see you there. Thanks again. Bye.